Today we're up in Taupo in 61 Prairie Street, and we have got an interview lined up with Colleen Yeoman, wife of Bob, who's no longer with us.
Yep.
Colleen, when did Bob die?
5 years ago on the 5th of this month.
5 years ago. Yeah.
Yep.
How time flies. It would have been great to have interviewed Bob.
Would have been.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So Colleen, I thought we could start with your days as a child in Shannon, Levin, all those areas at Rata. Would you like to sort of, your mum and your dad was mostly shear milk?
No, Dad mostly worked on sheep farms until about 1944. We went and lived in a place called Okirai, just out of Fordell, near Wanganui. A wonderful, wonderful life. And he was the head shepherd there for the Campion brothers.
Okay.
And they were very well known people. And it was a wonderful life. Wonderful. And I think an uncle must have come and planted the idea in Dad's head he'd make much more money if he went shear milking.
Okay.
So we left there and went to Puratafa, which was close to Levin. Dreadful shift, dreadful house, because we'd lived in this wonderful...
Yes.
The house in Okirai had been the boss's house.
And he moved.
And he built a new one,
yes.
so the head shepherd got this new house.
That was a Campion.
In the Campion's place.
Campion place.
And so then we went to, it was just a cottage, but it was all right.
Yes.
And Mum loved the shear milking. She absolutely loved milking cows. And her and Dad were very comfortable and happy there, and we were better off. Financially a bit better off. So I went to that school, and in my book I said that's when I learned about politics.
Yes, yes.
Everyone was National,
That's
and
right.
Dad was Labour, and that was that. A girl came and accosted me because I was Labour, and she jumped over the desks and ripped my frock from top to bottom. So I leapt up over all the desks and pulled the sleeve out of her frock. Then I decided to walk home, and the headmaster was out of the room. So I walked home knowing that all my back was bare, and Mum made me go back to school again. I was allowed to change my dress, but she made me go back to school again. That was the biggest fight I ever had, only fight I had. But how dare she belittle my father, who was Labour.
And then you went on to become reasonably good friends.
Became
with this girl.
very good friends.
Yes.
She was a lovely girl, Rosemary Larkin.
Yeah.
And from there we went to Shannon, working for barbers, and that was a big school. That was a very big school. And from that school I went to college.
This was another shear milking job?
Yeah, another shear milking job. Dreadful house. It was all cladded in what today they'd run iron. It was all cladded in run iron.
Yes. Yeah.
And now people are putting that on their houses because it's fashionable. But once again, I said, as I say, we were financially better off.
Yes.
Because we're a family of six, so we're financially better off. And then, I don't know what happened, but Dad must have been out of work or something, and Mum and Dad worked in the Horlicks factory in Tokomaru.
Okay.
We had lots of that stuff to drink. It was dreadful stuff.
Yeah. I remember the Horlicks.
Yeah. So they worked there for a while, and then he got a job shear milking in Turakina. And that was a lovely place.
Yes.
It was a lovely place.
Turakina is
Yep. And so that's when I first went out to work then. But Mum and Dad made me stay home and milk cows. Very unwise.
Yes.
Should never have done it. Should never have done it. When I left school, went and worked as a wardsmaid in the Palmerston North Hospital.
Oh, yes.
And then I had to leave that and go home.
That's right.
Because they were going to Turakina to work, and they needed somebody to work in the cow shed.
Yeah.
Very foolish move on their part.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a good experience all the same for you.
Good experience.
And a life experience. Yeah.
Another life experience, and probably that's where I learned to cook.
Yes.
Because
so you see,
Mum would send me home. Would you put the rice pudding in the oven? Would you put that meat in the oven and make sure you
Yeah.
baste it and do all those sort of things.
Get your siblings off to school.
Yes, I
Yeah.
had to. You
Comb the hair of your
plait
sister.
their hair every morning, which was a chore.
Yes, you did.
And
yeah.
then after the milking, I used to stay at home in the house and polish the kitchen floor and delayed going to the shed for as long as I possibly could. And then when I got home, we'd have breakfast. Then I'd bike about 3 miles to pick up potatoes. And
Yeah.
I made enough money to buy a new bike, so that was
Yeah.
a bonus. And then from Turakina, I got a job working for a Mr. Glasgow in his electrical shop in Martin.
Uh-huh.
He was a lovely person to work for. I don't need to go into the fact that I had a lovely boyfriend who
Yes.
I decided
That's right.
that it was time to sort of say, time.
You let him go.
I did. He was a lovely man, a lovely man. And so Mum was so furious with me, she sent me over to look after Uncle Bill.
Yeah.
Because Auntie Clara was in hospital.
And who would know that you were there to meet the love of your life?
Which I did.
Yeah.
Which I did. And I can still hear Uncle Bill saying to me, you go with Terry, you come home with Terry. And I think we went with the Baker Boys.
Yes, yes, you say that in your
And
book.
they stopped to have a beer on the way,
That-
which was unheard of in my lifetime. You don't... Because we used to go to the Turakina dances on a bike.
Yes, yeah,
That's how we used to get to the
Yeah, you were.
dances. And that's where Bob was.
yes.
Mm.
And you had the last dance?
Oh, yeah, that was unforgivable.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
there was another man there, a young lad, asked
Yeah.
me for the last dance. And that was unforgivable. Nice girls don't do things like that. But I did have the last
Yes.
dance with Bob. And the next day when we went to football at Keraro,
Mm-hmm.
number 13 was there, playing football, and I felt so guilty.
Did you? Yeah.
Of course I felt guilty. But when Bob did go home to his parents, as I wrote in that bit, he told his parents, I've met the girl I'm going to marry.
That's right. Were you engaged?
We were engaged. No, we
No.
weren't engaged at that time.
No.
No, but I think my mind wasn't on it as I was a very good practical nurse, and when I approached the matron to say that I was going to leave, she begged me to stay. She said, you're such a good practical nurse, but I could not do the exams.
No.
I just couldn't.
No.
I
Practically
couldn't
you were, yeah.
retain.
Yeah.
I couldn't retain what
we
was
go- Yes.
what I was swatting. But
Yeah.
I loved the nursing.
You
I
loved
did.
the
I
nursing,
loved the
yeah,
nursing. I
yeah.
loved the patients. Particularly liked being in the women's ward
Yes.
for some reason or another. And the men were wonderful. And one man, when we got married, he sent me quite a nice cheque.
Yeah.
As an
yeah.
appreciation.
Yeah.
He was a nice Mr. Stewart, his name. Then I went to Hastings, and Bob's sister and Pat,
Mm-hmm.
and I lived in a caravan on a Miss Burden's property
Okay.
up Karamu Road. And then I worked as a office girl in Hellenstein's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was good.
Yes.
That was good. So
Yeah.
Bob would come up every Friday and take Pat and I home.
Yeah.
Came engaged on the 14th of December. We got married in 52, so it must
Yes.
have been 51. Oh, Mum was a party lady too.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
we had some beautiful barn dances.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's what we had for our engagement party,
Mm.
was a barn dance.
And you talk in your book about these lovely families.
They
that
were
you-
lovely, yes.
Were they? That was in the Rata area.
That's in Rata,
Yeah.
the Kingies and the Mananuis. I can't remember the names of the others now. Potakers.
Yeah.
Potakers. They were lovely, lovely people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they were always sort of
Beautiful dancers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine. And singers and just
Yes.
generally good
No, beautiful.
entertainers.
And Mum always seemed to get a band when we had any of these barn dance. And
Yeah.
I mean a barn dance. They
Yes. Yeah.
were hay bales to sit on.
That's
and
right. That's right.
the floor was
Heels up.
all uneven, but that didn't matter. And Mum did all the catering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
She did
amazing.
all the catering for
Yeah.
my wedding. even though she worked in the cow shed.
Yeah.
And when it came to doing the flowers for my wedding, we pay a lot of money today to have flowers done. She said, you better go out and pick some flowers and take them to the church, Colleen, and do some flowers. So I went out in the garden and picked arum lilies and lilac, and my brother took me to Hunterville to the church, and I did the flowers.
So do you think that was a bit, because in later years you become quite a good floral?
Yeah, I did a lot of
arranger?
floral work.
Yes.
I did a lot of weddings. I love flowers.
Yes.
Always had flowers in the house. I can remember Tui Warsner used to drive past my house and he said, I love seeing a vase of flowers in your kitchen window.
Yes, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that means a lot then, yeah.
yeah. Rennie Hall's mother, Rennie and Bill lived down Glennie's Road from us.
Yes, I know who you are, yeah.
And her mother came out and gave us one lesson, and we all made a basket,
Yes.
thermos basket. And then for those interested, she gave us another lesson. And I made hundreds, thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Thousands of dollars. Anything you see here is almost bought with basket money. I travelled all around finding a craftsman who could make what I wanted with my own design,
Yes.
and ended up in Martin.
Okay.
And Gorrie and Whitford made that table and 8 chairs, and the big cabinet and the sideboard. It was all made with basket money.
Was it? Yeah.
But it was a very lucrative hobby until the Philippines came in with their basketry.
Yes. And they just made hundreds and hundreds of them.
Well, it
Flooded the
was,
market.
but it was time for me to stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Timing was perfect.
So back to you're engaged to be married,
Yeah,
and come your wedding day. That was.
it was a lovely day. It was a lovely day. Because I'd only ever been to one wedding in my life, so I didn't know about all the fuss and bother.
No.
I designed my own dress. I didn't make it, but I designed it. And my daughter wore it when she got married.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's now in the Onga Museum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my going away outfit. It was
That's
very
great. That's
outstanding going away outfit in those days. Lime green and a black lace coat. Bob's father gave us £300 for a wedding present.
Yeah.
And we'd
Lot
never
of money
seen that
back
much money in our lives. So we had a glorious honeymoon.
Yes.
I travelled Rata to Wanganui, up to New Plymouth, Hamilton, Auckland, back down to Wairaki Resort,
Yes.
and I stayed in Rotorua too, because we'd never been to any of these places.
No,
I'd never been far away. And back to Rata again.
Yeah.
Oh yes, we went and stayed in Waitomo, at the Waitomo Hotel.
And they were there.
They were there.
Yeah.
That's the night that Bob introduced me to wine.
Oh yes, I did
You know,
hear about it.
I think it,
Being helped up the
I think it
stairs.
went to my head a little bit.
No.
But it was a wonderful honeymoon because there was no expense
No.
spared. We had the money.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the way Bob's father wanted us to spend it, but came back to Rata and then over to the
Over to
mill. And our dwelling there was the caravan that we
Yes.
used to have to work when we were working. And then Bob got called up.
Yep.
And went into camp.
And at that time, the house that you were going to move into was beginning
Was
to be
being
built.
built.
Being built.
And so the only request I had was, could I please have a stainless steel sink and bench? And could I have shelves on each side of the fireplace
Yeah.
and pelmets on the windows? That's all I asked for. To actually plan our house, we sat on the metal
Yes.
with a stick and drew a square, an oblong.
And the builder was from memory?
Colin Gordon.
Colin Gordon.
He
that's
was.
right.
He really was a master builder.
Yes.
He was very.
Was he a
good.
local?
No, he lived in Hastings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then he
so-
built Bob's parents'
Yeah.
house.
So you sat down, scratched out. the
Scratched
plan.
it out,
Yeah.
line down the middle, 3 bedrooms, sitting room, and a kitchen. And so I said, what about the bathroom?
Yeah.
So he took a piece out of the kitchen area
Yep.
for that. And then we said, we haven't got a toilet. So that went into the back porch.
Yeah. So how long had you lived in the caravan?
Oh, only for a few months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Bob went off to
He went off to
compulsory
camp,
military
yeah.
training,
and I think my brother-in-law took me over to Rata, and I stayed with Mum and Dad until my baby was born.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how the young people cope today, why they can't cope.
Mm.
Because when COVID was on, one midwife said to me, it was terrible. Even the husband wasn't
Yes.
allowed in.
No.
Oh, I said, eat your heart out. I said, Bob was away for 3 months.
That's
Didn't even
right.
see him.
That's right.
And I said, I survived. And then I said my baby was rushed down to the Wellington
Yeah.
Hospital and I didn't see her for weeks and weeks.
That's right. So your life at the mill, when you were living in the house after the caravan, Bob was still
He was still working in the bush.
in the bush, yeah.
Then he started driving the big trucks
Mm-hmm.
to Paiatua, leaving very early in the morning. Because
Yeah.
Bob was working in the bush.
Yes, yeah.
It was his
okay.
choice at the age of 14 to go and
Yeah,
work with his
yeah.
father.
So
Worked in
his
the bush.
day, how would his day of work go?
Very
Like,
early in the morning,
Yes,
take his lunch,
yeah,
go away and work all day, come home.
yeah. And like you were saying, there were very few accidents in the bush in those days.
None.
No hard hats.
That's what I say. No hard hats, no big leather gloves,
No,
no steel cap boots. I don't even know if they had earmuffs,
no, they
to
wouldn't
be
have.
quite honest.
No, they wouldn't have. I'm
So-
sure I can.
So all these senses were alert.
Yes.
They're not today.
No,
They're not. And there were no drugs.
no drugs, no.
No
No.
drugs in the bush, which there are now,
Mm.
because they send
Yeah.
a woman out to make sure
Yes.
from Taupo.
Yeah.
She goes out into the bush. Doug Goodman,
Yes. Yeah.
Goodwin, Doug Goodwin. He had Bob doing some agricultural
That's
work
right.
because Bob's father had an agricultural
Yes,
business
yeah.
as well, and we went and lived in his little house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, totally isolated.
Yeah.
I think I had to open 16
That's
gates
right.
to get to
That's
it,
a lot of gates
Oh.
you mentioned anyway. Yeah.
and I couldn't drive,
No.
and the telephone didn't work.
So
It was-
what would you do with your day while
Knit.
Bob was
Knit.
knit? Yeah.
Knit. Read books.
Yeah.
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 And bake, of
Yes,
course.
yeah.
The old wood stove. And
Yeah. Yeah. So then, the farm consisted of how many acres at that stage?
I'm sort of thinking 600 acres.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
On the Turfree farm.
Mm.
Then they bought the Hickey block,
Yes. Yeah, I know that.
and I sort of feel that might have been 300.
Mhm.
And then we bought the Warsnip.
They call it Parks Peak now. Was it ever named Parks?
Is that the
They-
name of a farm?
Where the homestead is?
Ours? Is that what they call
Yes.
ours?
Yes.
Oh, we called it the Laurels,
That's right. You did.
Yeah.
Because of the laurel trees. Yeah.
which have gone.
Yes. Yeah. So Jennifer had arrived, and then there was who was next on the?
Christine was next.
Christine was next.
They were all born in Rathbone.
Oh yes.
In
Yeah.
Waipawa.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
she was next, and then Robert,
Yep.
then Angela, and then Lorena, and I think it was around about 5 o'clock we left home. Can't remember what car we would have been driving in those days. Would it have been that big? Would have been that
Shear
damn
line.
big shear line.
Probably. Yeah. I think around about that time.
And as we were driving, we came across. We were breaking all records,
Yeah.
of course.
Early in the morning, sunrise.
Early in the morning, and there was a mob of sheep on the road.
Shearing time.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
And Bob was very loud in his disapproval about any idiotic farmer being out on the road at this hour of the morning. So we got through that one, and then blow me down, we met another knob.
Yeah.
Even though he was a farmer, he was really cursing those farmers with their sheep on the road.
Yeah. Well, it was a pretty important
It got
time.
there with a few minutes to spare.
Yeah.
30 miles was a long way.
Yeah. Yes,
It's a
that's
long way.
right.
It's a long way.
Shingle roads.
Now from Turangi, they fly them up to Taupo
Yeah.
in a helicopter. Oh, honestly.
Yes. Yeah. So the kids were now growing up on the farm and having a wonderful
They
time.
had a wonderful farm life. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And when must have written to Angela. She was living in Australia, her and Tony, and said we were selling the farm. I've still got the letter she wrote me. She said, we've had the most wonderful life. Now you and Dad go and do what you want to do.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a lovely letter.
Yeah.
But no, they had a lot of fun down in the mill once it was closed.
Yes.
Lots of fun.
So can you tell us about Fritz, your little
Oh, my beautiful little
fawn?
dear. Oh.
Yeah.
He was absolutely beautiful. I'd be sitting making baskets. I always sat out on the deck, the terrace,
Yeah.
and Fritz would be sitting there with his head on my lap. It was beautiful. He was beautiful.
Yeah.
Did I say in my book that as a Women's Institute member, we used to get a bus load of people from the Paul Hunter ward in Waipakarau?
Yes.
I
You
did
did.
say that,
You
yeah.
did say that in your book. Yeah.
And when I had all these people, these patients from Waipakarau, the first time I had, I think about 12 used to come out. And we'd do a big roast dinner for them. So the first time I had Fritz in the sitting room for them all to pet. And that was beautiful. The next year I had puppies in the sitting room. The next year I had lambs for them to feed in the sitting room. And the next year I had a baby. Somebody had a baby there.
Yeah.
I always did it in the winter so that there was a big fire burning.
Yes.
So
That'd
it
be
was,
something they would never have seen.
they wouldn't see that, and I always had it in the winter with the fire going, and
Yeah.
no, they were lovely.
Yeah. Oh no. I know you thought a lot of your father-in-law, Dave
I did.
Yeoman. Can you tell us a little bit about him, Colleen?
He was a very quiet man. If you asked him a question, you'd actually forgotten what you'd asked him before he ever answered it.
Okay.
He would sit there and
Yes.
quietly digest it, and I was quite impatient in those days, and I thought, are you ever going to answer it? Highly, highly respected man.
Yes. Yes.
He never ever, I don't think he ever carried a checkbook, but he always had a lot of, he did everything with cash.
Yeah.
I can always remember out would come this pile of cash out of his pocket.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
no, he was quiet, a very clever man too. And I was reading parts of Bob's book the other day. A very clever man.
And what he'd achieved, yeah.
And his road making, there's a little gadget out there, the Abney level. That's all he used.
Yes.
That's all he used.
Yeah.
He loved his races.
Okay.
Him and Bob's mother. Bob's mother looked like royalty when she went to the races.
Yes.
She was beautifully dressed. And he was just a nice, quiet man.
Yeah.
He really was. And he'd been lovely for the men to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt whether he would have ever raised his voice.
Okay.
But Bob loved working with his father.
Get a chance to help Bob on the farm, or you were just too busy?
He made it quite clear that he did not need me to help him on the farm. But his mother was very helpful, and any time I said, would you like me to come and do something or hold the gate? Oh no, Mum's going to do that.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
so I was quite happy to leave it at that.